Good morning. I'm going to give it a couple minutes. I see a bunch of attendees all starting to come into the webinar, but we are all here to go through some NEPA, that's National Environmental Policy Act onboard training. We're here to bring folks together to teach you what the NEPA process is, what the PD&E process is, and we'll go through this agenda. Let's see, the attendees are coming in. Okay, so first off, what we're going to do, you should be able to see the agenda on the screen. I'll come back to that in just a second, but just so you know, my name is Pete McGilvery. I'm one of the environmental administrators for the Florida Department of Transportation. I manage the SWEPT application, the statewide environmental project tracker, which is a key component to this particular training. It's a web-based application that allows us to create environmental documentation that can also go through the review and approval process. With me, we have a full team. I'm going to hand it off and we're going to go around. The first one I'm going to introduce is Ruth Roaza. You're on mute, Ruth.
Thank you. I'm Ruth. I'm the team leader on the SWEPT application. I'm happy to be here. We'll be showing you a demo later today. And Roy?
I'm Roy Jackson, and I serve as the State Cultural and Recreational Resources Coordinator, and I will be doing a presentation on the Section 106 process.
Good morning, I'm Katasha Cornwell. I'm the State Environmental Process Administrator.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tu Clark. I am a Project Delivery Coordinator and will be working with DEP and the grantees out there to make sure your documents are ready for the Rec Trails funding.
Good morning, I'm Stephanie Clemens. I'm one of the developers on the SWEPT application, and I also staff the OEM help desk.
Fantastic, Stephanie. Okay, so to just kind of kick us off and give us a context for what we're here to do, we've got the Rec Trails program over at DEP. DEP uses FHWA funds to fund priority projects and go through the various process to be able to have access to FHWA funds. Part of having access to FHWA funds requires that we perform environmental analysis consistent with federal requirements. Now, something that's very interesting about Florida is we are one of about 6 or 7 states around the country that have gotten what they call NEPA assignment. Again, that's National Environmental Policy Act assignment, which is you have to complete the environmental documentation phase in order to move throughout the federal process and receive future federal funding. Within Florida, Florida Department of Transportation was able to get this NEPA assignment, which means the Florida Department of Transportation actually serves as FHWA within Florida for environmental processing and approvals. So in order for your projects to be funded as grantees, we have to complete the environmental process to standards that support the federal funding action. So that being said, that's the nuts and bolts of what this entire process is. We know folks aren't very familiar with NEPA. We know folks aren't familiar with what the requirements are. And so working with our DEP team and the Rec Trails program over at their office, we wanted to make sure we had a consistent approach and provide a webinar to help bring folks up to speed. So those folks you just met on here, they're all going to be resources going forward. Another good note for everybody is we're actually recording this particular session, this webinar, and we're going to provide a link to it. So all the various elements that we go through, we're going to talk through, what is NEPA, what are the expectations for documentation to support, a federal approval by our office. Roy's going to run through our Section 106. And then we have this web-based application that provides electronic document development and approval, and we're going to run through the application itself. We're going to show you how it works and how to fill out the various type 1 checklist, which is a type 1 is a categorical exclusion, and a type 1 is within federal law. It means that certain projects of certain types aren't going to have a significant impact on the environment. because they're not going to have a significant impact on the environment, there's less documentation that needs to happen ultimately, but the considerations still need to be thought about and they still need to be documented appropriately. For much larger projects, you would do a much more involved process. We're not here to run through that today. And then we'll finish up with a question and answer session throughout. We'll probably after each section stop and see whether or not there's questions. And just so if you have questions, you've got the chat interface, please use it, ask questions in there. We have folks on our team that are monitoring everything. And after each session, they'll engage the presenter and go through the questions, and we'll make sure everybody's on the same page with what those outcomes are, and hopefully you'll get answers to your questions. We've also put together some additional resources for you guys. A lot of these things are either in a manual, which is accessed in that first link above. We have lots of other recorded sessions, a lot of various elements of considerations, like maybe you need to think about threatened and endangered species. Maybe you have to think about how you're going to deal with the Coast Guard. Hopefully none of those things are that much on these type 1s. But if there are particular concerns that you really need some more detail on, we've got some recorded training sessions that are on that PD&E NEPA recorded training opportunities site. And then if you really want to get a little bit more detail on how SWEPT actually works, we've got individual training sessions on there as well. Although I would tell you that what you guys are going to be doing within our application, the session today, the recording today that you're going to see is very much targeted to exactly the work that you're going to do. And again, we're going to post it. We'll give this to the DEP team. They'll share it with everybody. We'll make sure everybody who attended the webinar has access to it. And then of course, we're going to put it on our website and make sure that link is available as well.